And we are live on the YouTube. Nick, welcome.
Thank you. It's glad to be here. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you as it is our 2 p.m. every Thursday Eastern. We are going live.
1
And this
p.m.
is
for
number
my
2.
Houstonians.
Yes, 1 p.m. for everyone down south, or because what are you on the Mountain West time?
Yep.
Mountain West
It'll be
time.
1 o'clock.
Very fun. Well,
Yeah.
today we have a very we're breaking down Alex Hormozi's YouTube video. We're just kind of play, pause, kind of go from there, give our T's and P's and start hooking and jabbing.
Nice. And then if you're watching and you want to put a comment, ask a question, do so. I will be monitoring that.
Yes, please. We currently have 0 viewers right now. So if anyone does decide to hop on, we definitely would want to interact with you because right now we're just talking to ourselves.
I've been in business 13 years. I've sold 9 companies. My last company I sold for $46.2 million. My current portfolio at acquisition.com is over $17 million a month. And I'm going to compress 13 years of business advice into this one video. Number 1, have something extremely expensive to sell that you never even plan on selling. I learned about this anchoring tactic from a friend of mine. And he said, listen, man, you can just put something on your menu of items or services that you sell that's 10 or 100 times more expensive. And just by having it there, it'll anchor everything else on your menu or the rest of the prices that you have. And just make it something that if someone actually bought it, you'd be stoked that they did. But what ends up happening is that 1, you'll sell more people on your core offer because they have this big price anchor. Second, it allows you to nudge up your main offer's price because related to the big one, it looks like almost nothing. I was talking to a different friend of mine and I said, hey, you should consider just adding one of these things in. And he had a weight loss business, a very generic online weight loss business. And so he added a 6 times higher price version of his offer. And then the craziest thing happened. People started buying that more than his core offer. And when he did that, he tripled his profit overnight. And so the thing is that it also breaks you, especially if you're starting in business, out of this fear of raising prices by just saying, hey, there's no way anyone's going to buy this. I'm going to make this so expensive, no one's going to buy it, and that's okay.
So this reminds me of a sales class that I took, what he was talking about, the rule of 3. When you buy anything online, Yep. So when you buy anything online, a software program or anything, you typically see around 3 options, right?
Yes.
Sometimes 4, sometimes more. But what they want to only show you 3 options, and maybe like a different screen, they might have, even bigger options. But vast majority, the rule of 3 is have 3 different options. Super cheap option, which is usually like your free trial, or if there is 4, there's a free trial, and then like a couple bucks a month, right? Or depending on your service, the cheap option that's very limited. And then you have the middle one, where is your main service. This is what you're trying to sell, is your main service. So for my industry as a real estate agent, 3% for each agent to sell you a house. So that's 6%. 6% is my middle one, right? And then I might have something on the very bottom that offers like half of my services for 1.5% for each agent. So 3% or something like that, right? And then you have the big one that might be an additional 1% for just myself. So that's 7%, which if someone buys that, sweet. You know what I mean? That's just more money for me. But my goal isn't to sell that one, right? The 7%. My goal is to sell the middle one, the one that I, want
your main offer.
Buy.
Your middle one is your Goldilocks.
Yep. And then my cheat one is like, okay, this is how I'm going to get people to my website. This is how people are going to get to know me with that option. If they go with that option, okay, I'm still making money. I'm still selling something, but it's very limited, right?
Yes,
so
and I do
people tend to buy that middle part.
And through my walks,
the rule of 3,
life, I think that we see that third option more and more. I would love to hear your observation on this, Nick, but I noticed this when I went to the Newark airport. Remember when we were traveling back in like 17? An airport bar was an airport bar. You'd go get Starbucks,
Mhm.
you'd get fast food, you'd get McDonald's. Now at the Newark airport and other airports, it's a lot more boutique, expensive stuff. And I think it looks nicer, it looks more brandy, looks more trendy, more updated. But I think a trend, because I think everyone just follows this rule of three. I don't think anyone in the marketplace doesn't follow this rule of three. But now I'm kind of noticing that they're upcharging you for everything. Like they're like, here was a nice boutique place. Now give
Mhm.
me $20. It was $18 for a beer. And I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I noticed that in the airport of it used to be like what you're saying, the 1, 2, and 3. But in the video, it kind of goes by to like more and more people start buying the more expensive one because there is a percentage of the population that'll buy something only
Mhm.
the most expensive one. And that's kind of a
Yep.
trend utilizing this strategy that you're describing of the 1, 2, and 3. But a lot of people just hitting you over the head with the third option and saying this is the new
Yep.
standard.
Yep.
I don't know if you
Yeah. I mean,
noticed that or
once
not, but I
you.
noticed that when I was traveling. I was like, what is going on here?
Yep. Yeah, and this is the class that I really took that kind of explained this. You have your three options, and you can relate this to if you go to McDonald's where they have the small, medium, large drink. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
their main thing that they're basing everything off of is that medium. If you want a small, okay, they're still selling you something. If you get that
Yeah.
large, okay, we're just making more money, right? And then
Yeah.
eventually people will just buy the large. You know what I mean? And their special
Yeah.
will be that large, and then they're making more money. So eventually, you do want to go to the selling your large product and maybe even eventually making that large project your middle
Your middle.
project. Yeah, and then having it bigger, and still have that rule of three in place. But
Yeah.
or even have maybe having that fourth option. But people when they start having more options, it just becomes more confusing, right? That's what's so great about the three. It's
Yeah.
super simple, basic. The main thing, and then an upgraded one.
No, I completely agree with that too. And if going on the McDonald's, if you know the background of the small, medium, large, it used to be the fourth option. What you were describing was it used to be called supersize. I don't know if you ever watched the documentary Supersize Me. That I know.
And that's what they're selling so many larges. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, we need another one
Yeah.
to stick with that little three, and then that small they wouldn't even like. There's an option for that, but there wasn't really marketing that, right? They were marketing your typical medium, your
Yeah. Because
large, and now your super size.
the supersize was they just made the supersize a large, got rid of it, and just said small, medium, large, and just made the supersize the large, which is,
Yep.
you know what? Hey, guys got to eat. Guys got to eat. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's. I think we should do a breakdown of Ray Kroc, but like especially now it's so expensive. I don't know when's the last time you ate McDonald's, because I remember me and you remember that Humvee fiasco when that one dude lost
Yeah.
something or he was just wrong, and then remember we made that fat McDonald's order, dude.
Yeah.
Now going to McDonald's to get a double quarter pounder meal and then like a McChicken is like $20. I'm like, this is McDonald's. I haven't eaten
Yeah.
McDonald's probably in almost a year.
Especially in New Jersey, right? What's you guys' minimum wage?
I think I don't even know what the minimum wage is in New Jersey, like $20.
Yeah, and that's probably higher than what McDonald's would have for market value for a worker. So they have to pay them that money, and then your McDonald's orders, you're going to be paying a lot more. Where in Texas, it's still expensive, but the market dictates what people are getting paid, not the government. So it's still a little cheaper in Texas.
No, I agree with you, but like this video, I want to know, like, I don't like that companies are doing it because now everyone is just they're like, oh, we can just raise our prices. Maybe because it's yes, inflation does pay. Inflation is a part of that. I cannot be naive and say we printed how many trillions of dollars, prices will go up.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's a sense in the marketplace that people all watch this. I feel like everyone watched this video and read this book and said, how can we just charge way more than we need to?
Yeah.
I do not know. Like, that's my feeling. Maybe I just haven't been in this much inflation in my lifetime, but I do get a sense that people like, let's make something boutique and let me hit you over the head with the price.
But and another good point of why the rule of three is so good, and then what he was talking about, your main product might be like you could charge more for your main product, and you will never know that if you don't have that third option. And you never know if your main product is too expensive unless you have that lower price, right? So it does
What-
gauge. Okay,
Well, how would you set up
where
a system for setting a product? Because I feel like if you're coming out with a new product, say you're like us, like if you're Apple, you know how much someone's going to pay for an iPhone.
because you've been in
Like,
business for so long,
Yeah.
but when they first came out with an iPhone,
yeah, you
you know
gotta
what I mean? Like,
change.
they came out with multiple models, right? They came out with the 8 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte with all this storage, right? And they, I don't know if they have 3 options or maybe they had more, but let's just stick with 3 options because of the rule of 3, right? And
Yeah.
they had 16, 8, 32, and they studied what people bought, right? And this has happened
Yeah.
if I just made a brand new type of headphones or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to probably come out with 3 different models of it, right? A cheaper,
Yeah.
medium, and more expensive. And I'm going to get, if everyone's buying the more expensive, well, that more expensive, my lower model is going to be kicked out, right? And
Yeah.
then I'm going to have my medium become my standard. I mean, my medium becomes my low, my high becomes medium. And then I'm going to introduce this brand new product next year, my 2026 edition.
Yeah.
And if people don't end up buying that, I know, okay, the medium is my good market. Now, if no one buys my product, everyone buys my cheaper option, I know do the other way.
Let's forget about the 1, 2, and 3. Like people understand the 1, 2, and 3. I want to know what your process is of, say we came out with our own product, of how would we set a product market? Because like how I think we could get it done would be, you just start off like, say we're selling a new phone. We know that we do the market research, yada yada. You come in high, and then you just set a market, like say it's $500. You sell it to a handful of people for $500, and then the next person you sell for 600, 700, 800. Like each time you sell the product, you go all the way up until no one. Say we have a new phone, we start at 5, and then we get up to a 900, but no one's buying it for 1,000. Then we know the market value of your product is $900. I think that's a good way to set the market price. How would you do it? Because I think we know the 1, 2,
two options that we talked about, where we start low, go high. I mean, I utilize that when selling a house, right? I think I talked about
walk us through your process. Like, what is your mentality when you sell a house? Like, because I'm always interested with a realtor of, it's like you're in the game. Like, if I know no one's watching, like we have no viewers right now, but like Nick is in the game of Houston. I cannot tell you how impressive it was. Like when we're driving on the highway, Nick's like, "Oh yeah, there, here, here, here." I was like, "What the hell?" Like, Nick, you've been here for a year and a half.
Yeah. So when I talk to a client about selling their house, I will do my homework before meeting you, right? But there's only so much homework that I can really do, right? So if your house is worth 200,000, right? I'm gonna go to your house to tell you that it's worth $200,000, but I'm not gonna list it at $200,000 because I could be wrong, or I could be right, right? So for $200,000, I might take 10, 15, 12% off of that, depending on what your house kind of looks like, right? Because my goal is to drive people to your house. That's my number one goal. Get people to your house. If people come to your house, the offers will come, right? If the house is worth 200,000 and it's worth 210,000, nobody's gonna come to your house. If your house is worth 200,000 and we list it at 200,000, no one's gonna pretty much come to your house. We might get ones or twosies, but if people think that this is gonna be a good deal, they will come, and then we get to bid them up, kind of like an auction.
So it's like you're saying it's like house based. So like,
Yep.
like the house. So each deal determines how you go about it.
Yep. Yeah. You really have to know the market. There's a lot of homework that you got to do. Okay. In this area, typical houses are sold under listing value, right? So I know, okay, the market's kind of going down, right? And there's a lot of other resources that are reading articles about seeing the trends in markets in different areas. Or maybe, hey, most of these houses are selling above market value, right? So I know that there's high demand in this area. So I don't need to go down as much, right? But an easy medium, I could say a $500,000 house in an average market typically takes around 3 to 4 to 5 months to sell your house. I can do it in a month by taking 20% off of that. driving a bunch of people, which then they bid up, and I can actually sell it for higher than pretty much what I think it is worth. So if I think it's worth 500,000, if I'm able to bid it up, usually probably sell it for 505,000, 510,000, which that can cost, that can go towards a lot of your closing costs, right?
Yeah.
So
So
it's
So Nick, since there's a buyer and seller's agent, so do you have to like negotiate with another real estate agent when you're selling a house with someone? And do you have like personal relationships with someone? Like, hey, like I know so and so is a dirtbag, and I know he's going to try to lowball me, and I know Susie Q over there doesn't care. Like she just wants to get the deal done. So if I have if I'm representing a seller, I know I can go to Susie Q over there, and she means business. But Jimmy John over there is a dirtbag, and he just wants to lowball me. Like, is there like, is that how the network works, or is every house is new?
every house is kind of new. I don't think I've ever dealt with the same agent twice. Maybe in like a smaller market, like maybe the town that I grew up in. Only a handful of agents, right? Or there's a
Yeah.
handful of brokers, you know what I mean? So in that those kind of markets, you probably have more of that. In Houston, there's just Houston Associated of Realtors is so huge, you probably never deal with the same person.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe if you specialize builders, I definitely deal with the same builders and the same representatives from those companies. Like Perry Homes, like I've dealt with the same rep like quite a bit, especially if I sell multiple houses in one development. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But resale of a house, I mean, maybe if I like narrow my search down just in like one suburb, and I know other people have done, do that too, I might be able to, get a repeat agent once or twice. But
Okay.
I market myself pretty wide. I'm always learning different markets, and when I get a lead from someone that's interested, I start doing that research about those areas.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
yeah, so maybe if I
I wish I
narrow
was in
down,
shape.
maybe yeah, no, but there is a lot of negotiating back and forth. Um, so that definitely does. Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
I'm gonna add this roll to the next part of the video.
Okay.
You give yourself permission to just fly it out there. But what you will find is that 10% of customers just want to buy the most expensive thing. These are the whales. And the only thing worse than making a $1,000 offer to somebody with a $100 budget is making a $100 offer to someone with a $1,000 budget. Because in the first scenario, you lose $100. In the second scenario, you lose $900 of the money that you should have made but didn't. Number two.
And to the point I was trying to make is I feel like a lot of businesses are like, screw it. Let's just hit people over the head because we have enough market share. We know they're gonna buy it, i.e.
Mhm.
boutique bars at Newark Airport.
Which they can. I mean,
Two.
if that's what the market dictates,
But I don't think the market dictates that. Like I don't think
then they'd be out of business.
yes, but what I'm kind of getting at is like since there's so much globalization and consolidation that these people have done, that there really isn't like imagine you wanted to open up a restaurant or a store in at Newark Airport. You know how many
Mhm.
freaking hoops you would have to jump through and palms you'd have to grease to make that happen. So that's what I'm saying is I don't think anyone
I can get it
I don't know
done.
about you. Me personally, I can only speak for me personally, but I don't want to go to Newark Airport and sit in a boutique bar. I want to get there. I want to go there and eat my McDonald's, drink my beer, and hop on my plane, hopefully black out and wake up when I arrive. I don't need to sit in the nicest restaurant of all time. Yes, I know you're gonna hit me. I know I'm in an airport. You're gonna charge me 25% more. But why are you charging me 35, 40% more? Because you can. That's not what the market wants. You just redid something and added different lights and made it a little. You just use some Clorox wipes and you basically field aid and charged me $40 more. You should have been kept it clean the whole time.
They stay in business, so I mean, that's a good indicator if they go out of business. And talking to some of the commercial agents that they've done deals in airports, I mean, it's expensive. It's competitive. a lot of times those leases don't end up working out for a lot of people. It's usually big franchises or people with a lot of money going into those places. And typically it's the highest rent of any other place in
Yeah.
that surrounding area. So rent's higher. So the food's just going to be high, right? If a Chick-fil-A in an airport is paying 4 times more for rent than a big ass Chick-fil-A 20 miles away from the airport, your food's going to be more expensive.
Yes, but so like another point too is, you know how Dunkin' Donuts is no longer Dunkin' Donuts, it's just Dunkin' now, and they want to be like a cafe. I was in Dunkin', I was like, what? Like, I was like, can I get a Long John? Like, we don't do Long Johns anymore. Like, we're supposed to be a coffee house. Like, no, you're freaking Dunkin'
What? They don't-
Donuts. You're supposed to shut out coffee that's burnt and tastes like crap and give me a donut that I can dunk in it. Like, all these people are trying to
Yeah.
be like, this is one of my biggest gripes in the American market is the stupid globalization. I don't know if you feel the same way, if you notice this, Nick, or maybe I'm just crazy because people know I can been crazy before, but it's like, you're Dunkin' freaking Donuts, bro. You're not a local coffee house. Shut up.
No, yeah,
Seriously.
100%.
Give me my
Give me
freaking
some-
donut.
Give me some donuts.
Yes,
Like
give me
I'm
my
supposed to
stale
go
donut
in
with
and
the
see like 80 different options of donuts.
Yes. I like that is what's kind of like that is what like grinds my gears about like all these as globalization and consolidation are transpiring. So if people don't know, I utilize consolidation, globalization. Globalization is basically that companies are getting more global, and so like that's why everything's made in China or India or a third world country because it's cheaper to make it there and ship it here. That's basically the best example of globalization. So there's no longer local or mid cap banks. It's all either credit unions or national banks. That's another example of globalization. And that's a great example of consolidation of where two companies that are in the same market join forces together to dominate. And I despise that. I really hate it to my core. Teddy Roosevelt, that was his major claim to fame, is he busted those things up. I think that's why the DEI, like that's where all those things come from. And it grinds my gears that Dunkin' Donuts, you can't get a Long John in Dunkin' Donuts anymore. Your name is Dunkin'. Trying to act like a
That is a-
cafe. You know what I think of Dunkin' Donuts? When we used to make Irish coffees for lacrosse and we were feeling fancy, we'd get Dunkin' Donuts over McDonald's. Like, you're a step above McDonald's coffee. Let's not pretend you're a boutique coffee place.
No, yeah. You're supposed to be able to walk in, buy 30 donuts, your cups of coffee, and it being under $15 and walking out with a smile on your face, go to your office, hand out the cheap
Yes.
donuts,
Yes.
and dunk your freaking donuts.
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the clip.
God.
I think we're getting a little off
Stage two.
topic.
No, this is I think this is perfect, Nick.
No one knows you exist. Advertise more. And so to give you context on this, when I walk through the streets, I usually get stopped 4 or 5 times on like a 60-minute walk. And when I was launching my book last year, I had, 500,000 plus people who were registered. It was this massive event, broke the internet, whatever. But during the month leading up to it, we're advertising on all channels. We're running ads. We've got affiliates that are pumping it. I'm making content all over the place. And over the 4 weeks of people that stopped me, only one person knew that I had a book coming out. And so every time I'd see somebody like, hey, you're going to be at the book launch? And they're like, oh, you have a book? And I was like, how can you not know that I have a book? There's a story from Henry Ford that I love, which is that he was walking by, the CMO of Ford was right next to his office. And every day he'd walk by and he'd see the marketing campaign.
Sending gift cards in bulk can be a nightmare. But what if it could be tremendous?
And he'd see the marketing campaign day after day after day. And so 3 months into seeing the same campaign, he knocked on a CMO's door. He's like, hey, when are we going to stop running this thing? He's like, I'm getting exhausted of seeing it. And the guy just looked at me. He's like, we haven't started running it yet. And so the thing is that we get so sick of our advertising so much before our customers or potential customers even remember our names. And so the extent of advertising that you have to do, there are so many people in the world and people's attention is so spread thin and so they're so distracted that in the off chance you actually do get an advertisement of some sort in front of them, the likelihood that they remember that it was even you and the core message of that advertising is even lower. And so many of us have this.
I
think that's a
100%
good-
agree.
I do, because
Being in the marketing, trying to market myself, put it on Instagram, YouTube, and all this stuff. Nobody knows you exist. Nobody cares. Nobody, even if I say, make sure that when you sign a contract, you have this option period. If you're buying a house under $1 million, you should only pay 100, maybe 150 bucks. 200 bucks is a little high on that end. And make sure you get that inspection. If I tell people this 500 times, they're not gonna remember. It's gonna go in one ear, out the other ear. You know what I mean? It's not until that happens to them that they're in that position, right?
Yeah, because like for your own personal experience, how many people do you know have you won through your there's personal friends of mine of us that don't know we have a podcast. That I
Yeah.
would say I would call them a very close friend of mine, and both of ours like a shared close
And you
friend.
told them multiple times.
Yes, and they didn't know we had a podcast. So that I completely agree with Alex on that. And then the flip side of that though, because just like kind of inside baseball for us, we discussed doing you're doing the advertising for our website. Shout out the website.
PTApod.com.
PTApod.com. Shout out PTApod.com. Like and subscribe. But I do think it's kind of like the advertising is double-edged sword of it's all sequencing of, because we've had these discussions of you need to have a good product first before you advertise, because if you're just advertising shit, then your reputation is just going to be shit, and then eventually you're going to go out of business.
Yeah, which is really hard for a lot of people because they need a market to sell stuff or sell their services to then make money to then get better products. But you got to invest in front of a good product, so when you do market, it's not just a waste of money, because marketing is expensive. There's free ways to do it, but your competitor is dumping thousands and thousands of dollars into just one platform, and they're doing it against 5 or 6 different platforms that you might not even know exist.
Yes.
Right? Or they're hiring a big company to do that for them with years and years of experience. So
and I do think the best marketing is a referral, because I may be able to watch a YouTube short or a Facebook ad, but if Nick called me up and said, hey, this supplement made me run faster, or this guy's a good, if you referred me to something, me buying it is going to go up 10 times, way more than an ad would.
That brings up 2 topics that I want to quickly talk about. One is comment sections in Google is kind of like a referral thing, right? In SEO, comments are the one that boosts you most, right? There's a lot of keywords, and you can do a lot of things within your posts, blog posts that we do about topics that will increase that ranking. But like a website, there's nothing more that boosts than comments. It's referral. Hey, this person was very excellent. This product is very good, right?
Yeah.
And then second is sphere of influence. That's what you were talking about. Hey, this product is really good, right? Like I can manage my sphere of influence, but some of it I can't. Right now, if one of my clients go talk to one of family members and be like, hey, my realtor was amazing. If you want to buy a house, I would give him a call.
Yeah.
I can't really manage that, but that's probably where 90% of my business comes from, is word of mouth that I paid zero for, right? But I wouldn't be able to get that if I didn't spend hundreds of dollars on my marketing, right?
Yes, and also just time perfecting your craft. You are that. It's like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's apparent that Nick put the hours in. He knows where the bodies are buried in Houston. He knows where the good locations are at. And I think that's what equity will pay dividends for you in the future. Do you have any before you end the stream, Nick? Do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope. Probably run a part 2 next week.
Yeah. Nick, shout out the website.
pizza8pod.com.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
You can follow us. I put out a blog once a week right after this going live. So you will get that email notification, read the blog. The videos will sometimes be attached to that where you can watch it and then just read about the overall topic that we're talking about as well.
And to all of our listeners, thank you so much. God bless and have a good rest of your day.